Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring something a bit different.
Oh,
Yeah, a storyboard for a Nepali drama called The Escaped Weight.
okay.
It's the Cancun in Nepali. Now,
Interesting.
don't worry, even though it's fiction,
Okay.
it tackles some very real issues about how we measure potential,
I see.
particularly within education systems.
Mm-hmm.
The story uses a clever metaphor,
Okay.
a wooden balance scale
Yeah.
that's supposed to weigh a student's worth.
Okay.
You'll see how that plays out.
I'm interested.
So let's dive into this story and see
Yeah.
what insights we can uncover about outdated systems and the need for.
More modern, fairer ways of evaluating students.
What's fascinating here is how this drama, even just in its storyboard phase, sets the scene. Picture this.
Okay.
A rural village in Nepal. A family is anxiously awaiting the arrival of these important officials from the city. They're called the Big Sirs,
Big sirs.
and they're here to perform this
Yeah.
age-old tradition of weighing the family's 16-year-old son. Okay, hold on. Weighing a person. That's not your typical checkup.
Right.
How does that even work?
Well, it's not what you'd expect.
Okay.
They literally use a long stick, a sack, some sand, and pebbles. The big sirs arrive, all formally dressed. Carrying these very basic tools, it really emphasizes the contrast between the rural village and the formality of this event.
Okay.
They tie the boy to one end of the stick, then on the other end, they hang the sack filled with sand and pebbles.
Oh, wow.
They keep adjusting the amount of sand and pebbles until the stick balances perfectly.
I see.
It's a visual representation of their attempt to quantify his potential.
It's incredible how they use these everyday objects to represent something so abstract and symbolic. But I have to ask,
Yeah.
the villagers are okay with this?
It's presented as a respected tradition, a ritual that the community trusts. The big sirs and their methods are seen as almost infallible,
Really?
holding the key to the boy's future.
So there's a lot of weight riding on this weighing, both literally and figuratively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where the story takes a turn.
Okay.
The big sirs, after meticulously weighing the boy, set off on this long journey to Kathmandu,
Okay.
carrying the sack that supposedly represents his weight. But here's the catch.
What's that?
As they travel, the sack starts leaking.
Oh, no.
Sand and pebbles trickle out unnoticed, subtly highlighting the inherent flaws in this system.
The measurement. This representation of the boy's worth is literally diminishing. As they journey towards this important evaluation in Kathmandu, I'm starting to see where this escaped weight idea comes in.
It's brilliant, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like a slow, silent erosion of potential.
Wow.
And the big sirs are completely unaware.
So they arrive in Kathmandu, lighter sack in tow,
Yeah.
and proceed with their evaluation.
Yes.
Do they use fancier equipment in the city?
Interestingly, they stick with tradition.
Hmm.
They use a traditional balance scale. But instead of comparing the sand and pebbles to another person, they measure it against standard weights.
Okay.
They declare that the boy weighs 25 kilograms.
Okay.
Issue a certificate, and everyone celebrates.
So they're happy with that.
The family is ecstatic. The village rejoices. They all believe in the accuracy of this result.
Wow.
But of course, we know something they don't.
Right. We know that his weight,
Yeah.
his potential,
Mm.
has literally been leaking away this whole time.
Exactly.
I have a feeling things are about to get complicated.
You're absolutely right. The story then jumps to the family visiting Kathmandu.
Okay.
As they're walking through the city. They come across a young girl who offers accurate weighing services for a small fee.
Okay.
Now, the father is understandably skeptical.
Yeah.
They already have a certificate from those esteemed big sirs.
Right.
Why trust this random girl?
He probably thinks this is some kind of street scam, right? I mean, who would question those important officials?
It speaks to how deeply ingrained trust and authority can be, especially when it's intertwined with tradition.
Yeah.
But the girl insists on demonstrating her method. She uses a traditional balance scale too. But instead of sand and pebbles, she uses precise iron weights.
Okay.
And when she weighs the son, guess what?
What?
He weighs 45 kilograms.
Wait, what? That's almost double the weight the big sirs came up with.
Right?
I bet the family was floored.
They're stunned, completely bewildered. They
Yeah.
can't reconcile these two drastically different results.
Wow.
And to further emphasize the discrepancy, the story has this recurring visual motif. Everywhere they look in the city, they see digital scales,
Oh, wow.
grocery stores, pharmacies, even public spaces. All these modern scales confirm the 45-kilogram weight.
Oh, wow.
It's like the city itself is revealing the truth to them.
That's such a powerful visual. It's like the world is suddenly speaking a language they couldn't understand before.
Huh.
But, okay, we've got this leaking sack of sand representing a flawed system. The big sirs as figures of authority, and the girl with her accurate weights and those ubiquitous digital scales as symbols of a more precise modern approach.
How does the story explicitly tie all this to the education system? I'm dying to know.
It's like the scales fall from their eyes, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
They begin to question everything they thought they knew about this whole evaluation process. And that's where the story's critique of the education system really takes shape. Think of it this way.
Okay.
That leaking sack of sand isn't just sand. It's a metaphor for a student's potential, for the knowledge and skills they possess.
So the big sirs, with their outdated methods, are like a flawed education system, one that's losing crucial elements, missing those escaped weights along the way.
Precisely.
The story seems to be suggesting that traditional systems, often represented by standardized tests or rigid curriculums, might not be capturing the full picture of a student's abilities. It's like trying to measure a fish's intelligence by its ability to climb a tree.
Oh, right. And just like that leaking sack, these systems might be undervaluing students, leading to missed opportunities.
Exactly. And the story doesn't just point out the problems, it offers some solutions.
Okay.
It specifically calls for the elimination of Nepal's school leaving certificate examination, commonly known as the C.
Okay, so tell me more about this C. What's the big deal with it?
The EC is a high-stakes exam taken at the end of grade 10. It's meant to assess a student's overall academic performance and determine their eligibility for higher education. Now think back to the family in the story.
Right.
They trusted the big sirs completely, just as many families place immense faith in the C results.
I'm starting to see the parallels, but the story is advocating for getting rid of this exam altogether. It seems pretty radical.
It is. And the story acknowledges that this is a contentious issue.
Okay.
There are valid arguments on both sides. Critics argue that the C puts enormous pressure on students, reducing their learning experience to rote memorization and test-taking strategies.
Okay.
It doesn't allow for individual differences in learning styles or measure skills like creativity or critical thinking.
Okay.
They also point out that the C has a single point of failure. If a student has a bad day, their entire academic future could be jeopardized.
So it's kind of like that single measurement of the boy's weight, potentially inaccurate and definitely incomplete. But what about the people who support the C? What are their arguments?
Proponents of the C argue that it provides a standardized benchmark,
Okay.
ensuring that students across the country are assessed on a level playing field. They say it's a valuable tool for identifying high-achieving students and maintaining academic rigor.
I see.
Some even argue that the pressure associated with the C is actually beneficial. It prepares students for the challenges they'll face in higher education and beyond.
So it's not a simple black and white issue. There are legitimate concerns about fairness and whether it truly reflects a student's potential, but also arguments for its role in maintaining standards and preparing students for future challenges. But what does the story propose as an alternative to this high-stakes exam?
The story suggests that if a standardized test is deemed necessary for grade 10, Nepal should adopt a more modern approach, something akin to internationally recognized tests, like TOEFL or IELTS.
Okay, so I've heard of TOEFL and IELTS, but to be honest, I'm not exactly sure what they're all about.
Sure.
Can you break it down for me and our listener?
Certainly. TOEFL and IELTS are standardized tests designed to assess English language proficiency for non-native speakers.
Yeah.
TOEFL stands for Test of English as a Foreign Language, while IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. Now, while they both focus on English, they differ in format and target audience. TOEFL is primarily used for admission to universities in North America, while IELTS is more widely accepted for universities in the UK, Australia, and other countries.
So they're still standardized tests.
Yeah.
But their focus is more specific. They're not trying to measure everything under the sun like the sea.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's a crucial point.
Yeah.
The story isn't necessarily advocating for abolishing all forms of standardized testing. It's pushing for a more nuanced approach, one that recognizes that different assessments serve different purposes.
So instead of relying on this single, high-pressure exam that attempts to encapsulate a student's entire worth, maybe a combination of different assessments, each designed to measure specific skills or knowledge, would provide a more accurate and comprehensive picture.
That's precisely the idea.
Okay.
And it goes beyond just testing.
Okay.
The story seems to advocate for a shift towards a more holistic approach to education, one that embraces a variety of assessment methods, like project-based learning, portfolio assessments, and evaluations that consider a student's creativity, critical thinking, and problem-solving abilities, not just their ability to regurgitate facts on a test.
It's like recognizing that there are different types of weight, different types of value, and that a single measurement can't capture all of that. But that brings up another question. Who would be responsible for implementing these changes? Is the story placing the burden solely on the government?
While the story doesn't explicitly address the mechanics of change, it seems to be advocating for a collaborative effort.
Right.
It's not just about replacing the C with another test. It's about empowering teachers and educational institutions to adopt more innovative and inclusive methods of evaluating their students.
So it's a call for a system-wide transformation, one that involves policymakers, educators, and even students themselves in reimagining how we measure and nurture potential. It's a pretty ambitious vision. But I have to wonder, even if we manage to create these more accurate digital scales, are we always going to be able to capture all those escaped weights? Is it even possible to create a system that truly recognizes every ounce of a student's potential?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can any system, no matter how well designed, truly capture the full spectrum of human potential?
Wow.
It's like trying to contain the ocean in a teacup.
Wow.
There will always be those escaped weights, those talents or passions that elude traditional methods of measurement.
I guess that's where the human element comes in.
Yeah.
We can just rely on systems or metrics to do all the work for us. We need educators who are attuned to those escaped weights, who can recognize potential even when it doesn't fit neatly into predefined boxes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need teachers who are willing to go beyond the curriculum, who can spark curiosity and nurture those individual interests that might not show up on a standardized test.
It's almost like we need to shift our thinking from weighing students to unveiling them, to helping them discover and develop their unique strengths and passions.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And that's where this story's message really resonates. It's a call to move beyond those rigid, outdated systems that often limit rather than empower. It's about recognizing that true potential can't be confined to a single measurement, a single definition of success.
It's about embracing the messiness, the unpredictability of human potential. It's about creating learning environments where students feel safe to explore, to experiment, to fail, and to ultimately discover who they are and what they're capable of becoming.
And that's a journey that goes far beyond the classroom.
Right.
It's about challenging those escaped weights in every aspect of our lives. It's about questioning those assumptions and systems that might be limiting our own potential or the potential of those around us.
It's about being willing to see the world through a different lens, to acknowledge that true value might exist in unexpected places, and those leaking sacks that others might dismiss or overlook.
This story, The Escaped Weight, serves as a powerful reminder that we all have a responsibility to search for those escaped weights, both within ourselves and in the world around us. It's a call to action to create a more equitable and just society, one where every individual has the opportunity to shine, to contribute their unique talents, and to reach their full potential.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the escaped weight, the question I'm left with is this. What escaped weights are we going to uncover today? What hidden talents or opportunities are we going to help unveil? Maybe it's time to put down those outdated wooden balances and start looking for those digital scales, those innovative approaches that can help us create a world where no potential is ever allowed to escape again. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration.